Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the These Little Hands podcast. This is a podcast about knitting and sewing and all sorts of crafts that I get up to. And my name is Millicent and I'm coming to you from Bath in the United Kingdom. So today I wanted to share part 2 of my Christmas makes and plans that I have. If you didn't watch the previous episode, in the previous episode I shared quite a bit. So today I want to try and keep the episodes a little shorter. I like to do them in one go and I like to keep them around 20 minutes. Just so that it's realistic for me to be able to do this, and I want to grow this channel and to be part of this community more and be able to do it more regularly. So hopefully I can do that. And today I have a couple of Christmas makes that I can share with you, and I'm going to try and insert some videos as well of some of the other things I've made. So hopefully the introduction of this video had my wreath that I make for my door every year. So this year I made it with hydrangeas from a friend's garden. And they'd have discolored and dried out a little bit, but that is completely fine. So they were a little bit more red when I made it originally, and there's a picture on my Instagram of what it looked like originally. And then just outside my house, just outside our gate, there's these trees that have these pink and red berries, not edible berries, but berries on them that I used as well. So everything was just picked from my friend's garden and from just around where I live, and I added a red bow to it. So it was very simple to make because the hydrangeas are so big, you know, you just put them on the wreath. I should say that I have a like a rattan frame that I bought last year, so I use that as the base, which really makes it easy because the rattan is woven. You can just put the stems of the flowers in and it really holds it well. And we had a very big storm and it held up completely fine. So I'm very happy with my wreath this year. I've always loved the combination of pink and red, and around Christmas time I tend to do that. So that was one of the first things I made, and I think I made it the day after I recorded the last podcast. And then the second finished object, I'm really hoping that I can insert a video in here while I talk, is a little garland that I crocheted. So I've finished my husband's hat and mittens that I will show you with Max's camo color from Bydell's, which is the same color as my Etherow Sweater sweater that I showed off the finished object in the previous episode. So I used the rest of that DK weight yarn to make leaves for a little wreath. Not a wreath, a garland. And it's a free pattern from Loop London that I will link down below. So it just gives you the pattern for the leaves and the berries. It doesn't say really how to attach them or how many leaves. So I just sort of looked at the images and used that as an inspiration and made enough leaves until I used all of the main color. I did hold a strand of this Stellaris thread with the leaves when I make them to give them a little bit of a shine. So and also to use this, I use this to embroider onto my I'm calling it my Etherow sweater. It's not my Etherow sweater, it's the One Cent Floral sweater. So I used this to embroider onto that sweater. So I held the yarn with this, the leaves, and then for the berries I just used stash yarn. This is a cotton yarn from a South African yarn maker. So this is cotton. It's Vinnie's colors. I'm not sure what the color name is. It's quite deep stash. And this is John Arbon Knit by Numbers. in the red color. I think the color is KBN 19. Oh no, this is not by numbers 19. Maybe 19 is the color. Anyway, so that's that label. Oh, I have a label here for the Venus colors. Sorry, I had 2 of these colors in my stash. So this is the label. It's 100% cotton. I really love this yarn. It's, when you knit it up, it is so drapey and soft. What I would say is that it's easy to split it. You can see here, like the threads are almost like embroidery floss, if I can describe it like that. So it depends. It's difficult to knit with this on a tight gauge because you tend to split, or at least I tend to split the yarn, but still I really like it and I try to use things in my stash. So originally I was going to do the pink and the red, but the pink is a little bit too baby pink, and then I didn't do a lot of the red, so I used mostly this for the berries. And I just attached it with a fingering weight. I originally used this one, but it made too thick of a cord for me, just with a chain stitch, and so I swapped that out for a sort of cream fingering weight, so that it's not so in your face, the cord. So I finished that, and then I also finished a spur of the moment project. So I really want to do handmade gifts for Christmas, and every year I promise myself this is the year I'm going to do it, and then I don't do it. So this year my husband and Elena, my daughter, has hand knit items in their stockings. Elena's items I showed on the previous episode, and so I knit my husband fingerless mittens, fingerless gloves. This is a free pattern by Pearl Soho. It's the watch cap and mitts free pattern. So this is the adult large, I think, and this is the DK weight. He tried it on. He knows what he's getting because he's very particular with how he wants things. So I don't want to make it and then he doesn't like it. So they fit him really well. And he has a black coat and a khaki colored coat. So this goes really well with that. They're still a bit wet. I have a toddler in the house, so I was blocking these on the floor in the bathroom. And last night when I went to bath my little toddler, she threw it in her bath water. So they are wet all over again. So I have 2 of these, and then I made him a matching hat. So this is also the hat pattern from it's the watch cap and mitts. So these are the fingerless gloves in there, and this is the hat. I knit this hat 4 times. So the first time I held the fingering weight yarn that I had left from my Once and Floral Sweater double, and then I knitted on 3.25 needles, and I knitted according to the pattern, a little bit shorter because my husband doesn't like to fold the brim double, but when he tried it on it was still too long and I felt like the gauge was really tight, so I ripped it all out. Then I did it again on 4mm needles, a different pattern, and then he didn't like that, but I didn't do the whole hat, I just started. Then I ripped it out, went back to this pattern, the original one that I made, and did it on a 4mm needle, and then the gauge was too loose, so I ripped it back out, and then I did it on a 3.75. So it is still blocking, and I see here, can you see where I joined it? There's a little jog there, so I'll have to go back and just fix that. But he tried it on and he really likes it, and I think the gauge is really good now. It's still a little bit wet because it's still blocking, but yes, this is his hat and mittens. And then I have 2 other people that I wanted to make gifts for, and I couldn't decide, partly because of time constraints, because I had to redo the hat 4 times. It took up way more time than I was anticipating, so I lost quite a bit of time for knitting with that. And then I had a couple of things that I wanted to buy, but nothing turned out quite right. And then as I was going through my stash, I had 3 yarns that were just laying next to each other, random yarns, and I realized they would make the perfect combination for another parry hat. So this one is also still wet. It also got in an accident with the toddler. So this is actually 4 yarns held together, none of which I have the ball bands because it's quite a deep stash. So one is a Rowan, I think it was like a alpaca blend yarn, Aran weight. One is a fingering weight, definitely by Stellar Fiber Arts in South Africa, but I don't have the ball band because I used it for something else a long time ago. And then 2 mohair, and one is the Rowan Kitzelgate and one is a hand-dyed one. And I just love the way it turned out. I really like this pattern because of this thick brim. It's a really easy pattern to make, and I think it's quite modern. So I didn't put a pom-pom on it yet, partly because I couldn't find a pom-pom that I liked that goes with this, and I'm not sure that the yarn, the mixture of the yarn, is going to make a nice pom-pom for this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a pom-pom with the remainder of this yarn, but keep it separate, and then wrap it separately, and then if she wants a pom-pom on it, we can put it on, but if she doesn't, we can leave it off. I actually saw yesterday on one podcast, they always sew a button on the inside of the hat, and then you can just put your pom-pom on or take it off, which I think is a very clever idea, so I might do that. So that is all the knitting projects that I finished. I am working on a little toy dragon that the deadline isn't for Christmas, it's for the end of the month. So I'll probably finish it over the Christmas break and send it off after Christmas, which I will show on a next episode. And I wanted to make 2 more toys, but I didn't have enough time, so those will also have to wait. And then the last knitting thing is I showed you my sweater that I've been inspired to knit. It is a Rowan pattern from the book Winterscapes, and this book was originally for their alpaca merino DK yarn, which is now discontinued. So I'm doing the Etherow Sweater pattern, which is this one, and I'm doing it in drops merino alpaca. So it's a according to the Yarn Sub website, it is a very good alternative, but it is a little bit thinner than the Rowan yarn. So sorry, I see I'm mid-row, so I just want to finish this row. So last time I shared with you that I wasn't quite happy with the gauge on the sleeves. I didn't do a gauge swatch because I don't do that. I really should, but I don't. So I didn't do a gauge swatch. So I knitted on 4 millimeters the cuff and 4.5 millimeters the rest of the sleeve, which is what the pattern calls for, and it is quite tight. And when I look at the picture, this proportionally is very small to the rest of the sleeve. So I decided when I do the next sleeve, I'm going to go up to a 5 millimeter needle. I didn't do the cuff in a smaller size. The cuff and the sleeve is in the same size. Because the cuff is knit in rib and 2-colored rib, it does pull in anyway, so I don't feel like you need the smaller needle. And so that is what I've done. And I don't know how well it's going to show, but you can definitely see the proportions are much better. And the gauge is also less tight. I am typically a tight knitter, so it's not unusual for me to go up a needle size. And I'm still debating whether I'm going to knit the small or medium size. I think I'm going to go with the small. So I'm at the number of stitches that I need. I just need to make it a little bit longer. I'm going to do a couple of alterations to the pattern, just to the shaping of the pattern. And that is just going to be shortening the sleeves. I don't like long sleeves. You can see these sleeves are really long, so I don't like long sleeves. I'm just going to stop it there. And I'm also going to shorten the body quite a bit. But other than that, I'm really enjoying that project. Okay, and then onto the elephant in the room. I finished my dress that I showed half finished last time. So this base of the pattern is the Nina Lee Bakerloo dress, but I changed it quite a bit. So you can see I changed the collar. So I did a pie cross collar, which is very simple to do. You just cut a strip of fabric, fold it over, gather it and sew it around. And then the biggest change, I think, except for omitting the collar, is the sleeve. So this has a balloon at the bottom, which I don't really like. I think it's uncomfortable to wear. And for me personally, the collar with the balloon sleeve is a little bit too much. So what I did is, this is heavily inspired by a dress from Rosary Apparel that she made, is I used a sleeve template she has under her video of this dress. And I used that sleeve template and held it against the shaping of this pattern so that I get the right shaping. And then I slashed it open so that I can have a bit of a puff on the sleeve. So you can see the sleeve puffs quite a bit. And then I just did a simple cuff. And it's also a little bit more fitted than the original dress, which is what I wanted. And so because of that, it has a zip at the back, which I think the original dress you just pull over your head. And then also I did a little bow at the back. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm really very happy with this dress. It turned out exactly the way I wanted it. And I actually feel like I should make it in cream as well. What do you think? So that is this dress. And then I have plans to make another one inspired by this pattern. So what I'm going to do is again going to have completely plain sleeve, this time with no puff. I am going to do the collar, but I'm going to shear the bodice, and this is the fabric that I'm going to use. So it's a black gingham fabric. And then also, I made the skirt longer on this as well. I'll share a couple of pictures on Instagram of this dress, and maybe I'll do a bit of a stand back and show you after I finish talking here. I'm maybe going to do an extra tier on this dress, so I'm going to hopefully start with that today. And then I'm also going to make another one in this green fabric, and this green one I'm going to make as is, still omitting the bubble sleeve, just a plain sleeve, but I want to make a green one as well with the collar. And so I never used to make patterns more than once, but I really think there's value in using them more than once. And I think I know what my style is and what I like to wear, and so it's easier now for me to hack patterns and to understand how to change them. So I'm going to do that. And then the last thing I made is something I showed briefly on the previous episode. It's really very small. We I really love Christmas, and as a child I had a little teddy bear that came out at Christmas time to play with, and so my mom made this little doll a long time ago, and we drew the face on, but it bled a little bit into the fabric, and so I tried to embroider a little face. I mean, I still need a lot of practice. I think the eyes are a little bit too big, but I do think it's an improvement, and you know, the only way you can do it is by practice. And then the last thing is an acquisition that I'm really excited about, a sewing acquisition. Trend Patterns, which is a pattern company that I really like, designed a pattern that looks like the new, that wasn't heavily inspired by the new Prada collection and their coats. So this is the coat pattern, and I'm really excited to sew that up. I do have 3 different coat fabrics in my stash, but I do think you need quite a bit of fabric. So I'm not sure which one of those I will have enough, because this sleeve is gonna eat up fabric. I think you need almost 4 meters of fabric for this. So those are my plans. I'm hoping to get a bit of sewing done over the Christmas period before I go back to work. And I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, if you don't, a happy festive season. And please like and subscribe down below, and let me know what you would like to see from me. I want to show you things that you are interested in and that you would like to see, and I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.